I started a Substack called Homeward. I started it when I was at the company still, and
No, we've been reading. We've been
okay,
reading.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's based on,
But tell
you
tell
know,
everybody
I'll
listening, of
tell you what
course.
it's about.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
the name is somewhat telling. It's like I'm finding my home, right, and the home that makes me happy. And I think we all are in a way are in that process. We're always kind of either looking to improve our existing home or thinking about, what would our will our where would we like to live next, and what will that look like. And I my husband and I, Tad, a couple of years ago realized that our kids were going to go off to college, and we have twins, so in one fell swoop we were going to be empty nesters. And it it's very sad to have them move out, but it's also an interesting shift in your life, right? You all of a sudden you have a lot of freedom and less commitments, and because of the nature of our work, we can both work remotely. We're lucky in that we could potentially have another place or move somewhere. And one of the things that we wanted to solve for was the cold winters in New York City, and having a place that we could go spend time. But we also wanted a place that felt different and inspiring, and we ended up in California. And we bought a house and needed a lot of work. And so I just thought, this life shift and all of the decisions involved in it, everything from like what I want my kitchen to look like. I've never been able to design my own kitchen from scratch, to what it means, like what kind of things we should be thinking about for the next 10, 20, 30 years of our lives. How do we want to spend it? What matters to us? What is a style that feels like is reflective of who we are? Those are things that really relate to lots of people, and I felt like it would be interesting to write about it.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm doing with Homeward. And I'm probably going to also end up writing about what I will do next, because that's, of course, like, naturally connected to all of these decisions, because I'm really figuring out, well, who do I want to be in this next chapter of my life? Where do I want to be? How do Tad and I want to spend our time?
Welcome to Meeting Maggie, where we value each person's authenticity, whether it be over Starbucks or stargazing, and from fandom to fanfare. Season 2 of Meeting Maggie is all about the secret sauce of life. And as we discuss, they meet me, Maggie McGregor. Hello, everybody. We are here on Meeting Maggie with Amanda Hesser from Food 52. She recently started a new project, which hopefully we'll get into today. But I met Amanda we think it's 17 or 18 years ago. I think it was 2007. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Is that right? So I read her book I was in high school, and I read her book, Cooking for Mr. Latte, her cookbook, and I was obsessed with it. And my sister and Amanda so kindly met us at Bouchon Bakery, and it was like the thrill of our lives. Yeah, I remember what you had to eat. That's kind of
Oh my
creepy,
gosh!
but
Wow.
yeah. No, my sister Vivi and I came, and your sister-in-law Leslie had set it up, and my
Yeah.
mom was there, my aunt was there,
Oh yeah.
and I remember you said go ahead and order first because we had gotten there first, and we were like, well, what do we order? Like, what do we order in front of Amanda Hesser? So we like each order, and then my aunt goes, "I'll just have a grilled cheese and tomato soup," and you go, "That sounds good. I'll have the same thing." And it was such a snowy, like we have pictures from that day, and I'm sure if I try and dig around, like I'll find them and I'll definitely send them to you. But we have pictures, we have one framed of my sister and I and my aunt in the jewelry district, and it was a snowy day. And I remember you came in with a hat, and we were so obviously in Columbus Circle
Yeah.
in the Times Warner Center, and you needed a special food processor to make baby food for the twins. Can you
Oh
believe
wow. Yeah. So
the
I think
detail?
yeah. Well, they were. So they were born in 2006, so I think you do have your years right.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I wore that thing out. Actually, I just got a new one this
Oh
past year.
my God.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Williams and Sonoma. You make a great product.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like cooking for Mr. Latte, before we get into like the rest of your career and like
Uh-huh.
what you do and all that you do, is really like a special book. I'm sure it's special for you because it describes like your courtship with your
Hmm.
husband, but it's like especially like this like giddy rom-com for a 17-year-old because you just want to meet this Mr. Latte, like your own Mr. Latte, and you want him to know that date is not allowed after dessert or with dessert, right?
In your
That was
coffee.
the
Yeah.
stipulation in your coffee. Yes, that is a stipulation, and yeah, it was like just it's the funnest the cookbook to read, and I recommend it to everyone. Hey, it's Maggie McGregor from Meeting Maggie, and if you haven't made it to number 27's Cafe inside Central Park Flowers on South Abington Road in Clark Summit, you need to get there now. It's French and Italian inspired cooking with quick bites and everything from cronuts, which are my favorite, to tuna bowls, salads, and other pastries. It's somewhere you just need to get. They have counterculture coffee, some of the best lattes in the land, and you just need to go. With cozy little nooks to study or read, or nice tables to meet your best friend and have a chat. Number 27 Cafe, simply the place to be. We love to make the almond cake to this day. We love
Oh,
it.
good.
We love it. I don't think we perfected the recipe, but we're close enough.
I
Yeah.
have actually an improved version of that
Oh
recipe
my God, get out.
in the Essential New York Times cookbook, which I wrote. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well we'll definitely look that up. Maybe for Father's Day we'll get cooking. Yeah, but that's a great recipe. And then the chocolate cake in that book is Leslie's favorite.
Oh yeah,
She
that's my
always
mom.
tells me, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a special recipe, and I just remember like reading. I'm in fashion, and like I do some like mental health work, but the description of your engagement party dress when like weddings weren't a big to do. Like when you got married, they weren't like they are now, where you go like on the
Oh yeah.
bachelorette and like everything, and you describe it so simply, but like I remember it was like you described it kind of like it was like a midnight blue, or it looked like like a midnight
Oh yeah.
sky.
Hmm.
Yeah, and of course that's stuck in my head, and I always think of it when I'm dress shopping.
Oh.
So yeah, you didn't know you had such a
Yeah.
fan.
It's so funny. Yeah, no, it was dark blue, and it was nice because it had a little bit of like it was like fitted, but still had some like loose folds to it, so it was like very forgiving.
Yeah,
And but it had little kind of crystals or sequins or something, but tiny, tiny. So
yeah,
yes, it kind of glinted like a midnight sky.
yes. I remember the description. But you are on such an exciting chapter. Like your whole career has been exciting and impressive, but you're on this exciting chapter of this new adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you want to speak at all
yeah.
about that?
Well, yeah, I'm hoping it'll be more exciting than the previous chapters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm still, I would say, refining what I want to do, but
Yeah.
I'm really fresh out of being at this company. The company I started for 16 years, and so I'm only 2 weeks. This is actually 2 weeks to today, and so I'm mostly just catching up on my life. I keep teasing or joking with my husband that I feel like I've spent 2 weeks at doctor's appointments because I'm getting all the doctor's appointments that I've been putting off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually kind of nice to re-engage with what I feel like is like the normal world, and it is eye-opening and kind of has opened my mind to new possibilities, just having the sort of space and time to think about them. And yeah, I started a Substack called Homeward. I started it when I was at the company still, and
No, we've been reading. We've been
okay,
reading.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's based on,
But
you
tell
know,
everybody
I'll
listening, of
tell you what
course.
it's about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the name is somewhat telling. It's like I'm finding my home, right? And the home that makes me happy. And I think we all are in a way are in that process. We're always kind of either looking to improve our existing home or thinking about, what would our will our where would we like to live next, and what will that look like? And I my husband and I, Tad, a couple of years ago realized that our kids were going to go off to college, and we have twins, so in one fell swoop we were going to be empty nesters. And it it's very sad to have them move out, but it's also an interesting shift in your life, right? You all of a sudden you have a lot of freedom and less commitments, and because of the nature of our work, we can both work remotely. We're lucky in that we could potentially have another place or move somewhere. And one of the things that we wanted to solve for was the cold winters in New York City, and having a place that we could go spend time. But we also wanted a place that felt different and inspiring, and we ended up in California. And we bought a house, needed a lot of work. And so I just thought, this life shift and all of the decisions involved in it, everything from like what I want my kitchen to look like. I've never been able to design my own kitchen from scratch, to what it means, like what kind of things we should be thinking about for the next 10, 20, 30 years of our lives. How do we want to spend it? What matters to us? What is a style that feels like is reflective of who we are? Those are things that really relate to lots of people, and I felt like it would be interesting to write about it.
Hmm.
And so that's what I'm doing with Homeward. And I'm probably going to also end up writing about what I will do next, because that's, of course, like, naturally connected to all of these decisions, because I'm really figuring out, well, who do I want to be in this next chapter of my life? Where do I want to be? How do Tad and I want to spend our time?
Yeah. That's such a great reflection. And I feel like the world became even more obsessed with lifestyle during COVID, because
Yeah.
we were all in our homes, and it was all about like, not all about, but just perfecting your home to make it like the
Hmm.
most
Hmm.
livable for you, and maximizing space. Because what do you do when all of a sudden your six kids, in my parents' case, were back in their home?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, it was a crew. But yeah,
Wait, I
no,
think yeah, I think during COVID, I mean, certainly with our business, we saw, you know, people were suddenly having to cook every meal at home, and and also it became this like sort of sense of we return to the like our basic kind of innate needs, which are like a sense of security, a roof over our heads, a sound meal on the table. And I think during COVID that became like intensified, but actually post COVID, people's relationship with offices has changed. People's, I think, relationship with their homes has continued to evolve, because it's not like the world like settled down and then got back to being quote unquote normal. Like things have been there's been a lot of unrest in all sorts of ways since
yeah,
COVID. And
yeah,
I think people have just found that, on one hand, it's an oasis for them.
hmm,
Um, Another piece of it is that entertainment has really come to the home, right? Like you can pretty much see any kind of movie, TV show, in your home, right?
hmm,
Play any kind of game, read anything on the internet, have it, you can have it all brought to you. So I think people are seeing home as a place where they not only entertain their friends, but they also consume entertainment. And I think, thanks to things like HGTV and Instagram, yes, people have really, I feel like, fully embraced that your home is a real expression of who you are and your personal history. And I think people are putting more effort into having a home that feels truly them.
hmm,
And so, yeah, so I think that there's a lot of a new kind of meaning. The home has a new meaning to it and deeper meaning to people, I think, than maybe it did 10 years ago.
Right, right. My aunt, whom you met on that day at Bouchon Bakery, she did like a fabulous job when she was in remission from breast cancer of redecorating my grandmother's house. And she did such a great job of preserving, like you said, like memories and, just like thoughts. Like she had like old pictures or printouts. She had them printed, like things she found online or in books, like printed out and framed certain ways. And my aunt actually passed, but we inherited all of those. So my parents like kind of re-expressed like their themselves through redecorating like their house with her things. So my parents' whole third floor is an expression of Martha, and
Oh, wow.
that was my aunt. But she just reminds me of exactly what you just said. And this year I hired an organizer, like a professional organizer, because I have so many clothes, because that's kind of what my Instagram is all about. And so many like handbags, and I'm gonna send you I had a videographer come and do like a tour with me, like through my as content, and I'm gonna send it to you so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's a real expression of me, and it's just all about being an oasis, like you said. Like I just wanted to be so comfortable in my apartment, and I'm sure you can relate to living in a small space as well. I live in an apartment in downtown Scranton, and yeah, I love it, and yeah, that's my oasis. But yeah, I saw you started your journey with churro donuts on your Instagram. You posted, didn't you post donuts?
Oh, I think I did, yeah.
Yeah.
But there, sorry, it was yeah. Um, Sorry, it was a cruller. Yes,
Oh,
that's what it
I'm
was.
sorry.
Yeah, from Daily Provision. So yeah, they're no, I could see it's um, I'm sorry, a cruller is basically a donut shaped one.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry.
It has that same ridged quality.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
That looked delicious and fun. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know that was great.
I hope you're enjoying your new work. So are
I
you
am.
in your home currently?
Yeah, I'm in my Brooklyn apartment right now,
Oh, okay.
and we're renovating this house in Ojai, California, and it won't be done until October. So
Yeah.
for now, we are Brooklyn based,
Yeah.
and I'm going out to California every now and then to check on it.
Nice, nice. So tell us about your journey. Well, what was it like starting at the New York Times as a young food writer?
Yeah. Well,
Um, have you been to the Warney Cellar and Tap in downtown Scranton on Center Street? It has gotten outrageous reviews on their everything but the bagel seasoned salmon. They're a wine bar with an exclusive menu, and it's somewhere you just have to try this weekend. Add it to your circuit in downtown Scranton. It's just one of the places you have to hit.
with a lot of time between then and now, a lot has shifted in media. So now I look back at it probably differently than maybe I did while I was in it, which is that to say that, media was less uh, disintermediated, I guess is probably the best word, by the internet. Then, so it was very much like there were a limited number of publications. They were mostly just broadcasting out at their audiences. It was a very different time. It
Yeah.
was less interactive. There weren't, when I started at the Times, there weren't blogs or anything. The internet was kind of just getting going, and so it was a bit of a heyday for traditional media, which meant that I had, a great dining budget, and I could travel and do stories. And I regularly wrote stories that were 2,000 words long, and did that on a weekly basis. And they would go through extensive editing, copy editing, fitting it onto the newspaper page. It was just a very different kind of journalism than what you have in the food world now. And it was great. And I feel lucky to have experienced that, but I also feel like lucky to have been in food media and home media ultimately during this time of transformation. It's very unsettling because it feels like the rug is constantly being pulled out from under you. You don't know what's going to happen next, what is going to work, what's going to resonate, what's not. But it has also allowed for enormous experimentation. When I worked at the New York Times in the first few years, it was just very structured. It was like, this is how we do things. This is how it's done. There wasn't a lot of room for new ideas or new ways of thinking about how a story could be told or who should be telling that story. It was just a very different time. And so it's been really fascinating to live through a period and work through a period where there has been so much transformation and questioning of how we do things. I think that right now we've gotten to a point where media is especially lifestyle media, is very controlled by algorithms, and you could say controlled, manipulated, you could say all sorts of things, negative or positive. And I think that there are both positive. I personally feel like it's been both positive and negative, but it is one thing I think that is irrefutable is that it's exhausting, because the pace at which, if you are a content creator, that you need to create content is really relentless. And I don't know how long that will continue on, but I do think I feel and sometimes I feel glad that I'm not just starting out as a content creator, because I think it's challenging, right? You have to be able to not only be conversant in lots of different kinds of media and how to produce it, both from the content itself to editing it and getting it out into the world, but then you're kind of on this train of having to produce a lot all the time. And I think, so I can't say I know where it's going to go, but I'm curious, because it doesn't feel sustainable to me at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I kind of feel blessed. Like, I'm a content creator as well, and for Style Mag Daily, my blog and my brand. But I feel blessed because there's so much creativity involved, and we're given, like, we're at the helm. We're doing it all. Yeah, but it does feel a little relentless.
Yeah, but there is, like, I mean, that is, I think your point is really important, which is there is an incredible amount of freedom to, in fact, there's a lot of pressure, in fact, but not, I think, in a bad way, but there's a lot of pressure to create new formats, new ideas, new voices in order to kind of catch fire, or get people's attention, get them to engage. And if you're a creative person, that can be really inspiring. And I would say that there was definitely a period in my career when I felt creatively stunted because there wasn't that much, there wasn't a lot of flexibility. So it's nice to see that that to me is an incredibly positive evolution.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have a few minutes left. So, where do you find yourself shopping for home things, all things home, nowadays for your California home?
Well, my first stop, of course, is Food 52 and school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, actually, I have not yet purchased a lot on Food 52 only yet, because I'm waiting for us to be kind of moving in, and then I'll be
Yeah.
buying things like cookware and tableware. But what I have purchased a lot of, which is our sister company, Schoolhouse, which makes home furnishings, lighting, and hardware and things like that. I've actually have ordered a lot of pieces from there. And I mean, actually, you can see one of our clocks right behind me. That's a Schoolhouse clock.
Love it.
And so because those get installed, with the construction, I will have a lot of Schoolhouse things in the house, which is exciting.
That sounds great. It must
Yeah.
be so exciting to, like, I mean, I feel like nowadays, like when you get married, you have your place settings and like your silverware and everything you select then, and then it doesn't change. You're at
Hmm.
an amazing point right now where you can change it all.
Oh yeah, and people do, and I think that is also another thing. I think in our business that was really fun to see was that people were becoming more creative around how they laid out their table, set their tables, what kind of serveware they used. Also, they were more experimental around what kind of cookware they used. There's a lot of new cookware brands. Like, there's been a lot of new innovation, design development, and I love all of that. And so, yeah, I'm really. It's funny. I have a list going of things that I want, and but it's nice to have this chance to kind of think about, well, if I had needed one saute pan, what would that be?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tithinking about, like, well, for the first time I'll have an outdoor table, which I don't have in Brooklyn.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what kind of outdoor dinnerware would I like, and what matters to me in that, like what I want the look and feel to be. So I'm really excited about getting into that, but that's sort of a treat in the future.
Yeah. Do you ever do a lot of thrifting or like estate sales? Or do you
Oh
think
yeah.
you will? Yeah. Um,
Yes, actually, our living room is kind of filled with bags of vintage tableware that I have collected that I'm planning to take to California. Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
can't. Sorry, I didn't mean to try to interrupt
No,
you.
I feel like I have a problem, actually. I kind of can't stop
No, because
shopping for
when you've
vintage.
refined your palate and you know you're good at it for your taste, it's impossible to stop. Like, you know what I mean? It's impossible to stop stopping at Goodwills and going to sales. And I love to thrift. I love it, and so I understand.
Yeah.
This has been so great, everyone. Amanda Hesser, and on meeting Maggie, and thank you so much.
Oh, Maggie, thank you so much. It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you as well. I'll send that tour of my apartment on over.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.